Hey everybody, hope you all had a great weekend. I did. Um, Pretty much it's been really hot here, and allergies have been bad, but besides that, can't really complain. But yeah, so there's gonna be a couple changes to the stream you might have noticed. One, I changed out my overlay a bit, so I think it looks better. Although I noticed, yeah, I'm a bit late because there was a couple things that were sprung on me this morning. First, I noticed some of the graphics for my overlay were a little messed up, but I think I'll have to fix that afterwards. But so yeah, I do apologize for that. And then also, my music service has decided that they're going to make it mandatory to have links in chat. So if that's annoying to you, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but the only way I can fix it now is if I did a paid version, and I don't know if I'm gonna. Well, I guess I could just not be cheap, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a message in chat every couple minutes, so I don't mind giving the music authors their cut. It's only fair. But yeah, so in programming news, I was able to finally figure out how the Unity UI looks. I mean, how it works. So I guess I'll just do a quick rundown. So basically, these horizontal layout groups, this child controls size, when you click it, it actually, I guess I'll just show you. If I unclick it, okay, well it doesn't actually change because I don't think it's going to update right away. So if I unclick it and then turn off the text, okay, well it's not going to be nice to me right now. But basically the child control size doesn't mean that the child sets its size automatically. It actually means that the child suggests its size by this layout property. And this is another thing that's kind of annoying. There's this neat little inspector down here for the layout properties that's really useful when working with the horizontal layout, but you can see it always defaults to the UI material, which I don't know, I guess is useful, but not as useful as this in this case. So you can't like set this to be the, like, it doesn't remember that you were trying to look at this property. But anyway, I'll explain these. So the minimum width and height, in the context of these layouts, like the horizontal, vertical, and grid layouts, it will never make these elements smaller than the minimum width and height, which I guess makes sense. The preferred width and height is the height that are the dimensions that the layout manager will give to this element if there's enough room. And then this flexible width and height is the amount that this element will grow if there's extra room. So this text, I don't want it to grow, so it just has a preferred width and height, so that means it will never get larger than this. Whereas the input field, if I set the here, so the flexible width, I have it set to enable to 1, so that means it will fill up all extra space. Now the kind of confusing thing is that these are not really set automatically, so you can set them yourself using this layout element component. But if I turn this off, you can see that this is just what the text field or the input field supplies by default. So pretty much it would just grow to be invisible, and then it would never get a flexible width and height, which that's the problem that we were encountering before. So it's kind of confusing because they don't really ever say that you have to include this element, but you pretty much have to include this element if you want to use it, any of these things with a horizontal layout group. So now if I change the size of this, oops, something like 600, then you can see it grows, and the text field would grow to fill up the extra space. So another confusing thing is like these buttons, I want it to only be large enough to fit the text. So if I move down to here, how you do that is you need to get some element that will figure out a preferred size for this button so that the horizontal layout will choose that size for it. So you actually do that by using another horizontal layout group, and then you set the child to control size, which means that if I turn this off, well, nothing will happen because it won't update, but the child control size is basically, it just means that the layout group will set the size of all of its children to their child's preferred size instead of like evenly distributing. The force expand, I haven't really found a use for that yet because the child control size already works for it. So yeah, I'll need to look and see exactly what this does later, but so for here, what I've done to get the text, or the button to always match the text, is the text actually doesn't have anything on it because the text field, we can see, automatically sets its preferred width and height to the size of the text, so that's kind of useful. But I want, so let's see, if I just add something here, I don't know, some exclamation points, so it automatically grows, which is what we'd want. Actually, so if I make it really large, yeah, so you can see that first off, the horizontal layout manager just takes extra space from the text field because the text field still hasn't gotten smaller than its preferred size. But once we reach a certain point where the text field is less than 100 pixels wide, which is its preferred size, then it starts evenly taking space from each element. That's kind of the difference between the preferred size and the expand size. Now if I keep doing this, okay, so actually what is this text? Oh yeah, this, I didn't need that, I should remove that. You should never use a content size fitter with a horizontal layout group, it just doesn't do anything. Okay, well, see, I was going to say that this never gets smaller than the minimum size, but that's because the text does not have a minimum size. But the input field, I think, does have one. Yeah, so the input field will never get smaller than 100. So, I mean, it actually is a pretty good system. It's just a little confusing to learn. Another thing I did is here on the horizontal layout group, I wanted there to be some padding on the side of the text. So I set this to 8. But you can see if I turn it off, then it'll just match the text exactly. So yeah, that's about it. What would happen? I don't think... Okay, now see here, if I turn off a minimum width for the button, then it just sets it to 0 because the button has no preferred size. So I wonder if this would deal with it. Okay, so that's what the force expand does. The force expand, I guess, makes sure that they always expand to the total size of the layout group, which is what I want. So yeah, I can actually, probably it's better to go ahead and take off these minimum widths here, so that way if I for some reason wanted this size to be bigger, everything would automatically match. Okay, that's not centered though, how come? Probably something here. Okay, so this one's just set to top left, but I should actually set it to expand to the size of the button. So what I do is, and I want to set alt in position. There we go. Also, this should just be 30, not 32. I could use a grid layout system if I wanted everything of these to automatically be a uniform height, which I might have actually done. But we already got this vertical layout group working, so I don't know if it really matters that much. But anyway, let's change this back to 400. So yeah, I finally figured that out. I don't know, for some reason, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, once I found this layout element, everything kind of quickly came together, but I wish that you could set this layout properties to show by default, because it's really useful. And then also this child controls size is a little confusing because it makes it seem like the child controls the layout size, where actually it's the childs control their own size based on their layout properties. So I'm not really sure. I don't like this name, but anyway, let's go ahead and actually get back into programming it a bit. So a couple things. Yeah, I have this enabler listener, and then I have pretty much the same thing for a text field listener. And I was thinking over the weekend that it's kind of silly to have these classes because I don't really need a layer of extraction between the game code and the Unity interface, because I already have a layer of extraction between the game logic and what I call the UX classes. So having another between the UX classes and Unity is just going to, I think, create a lot of extra work. So I'm kind of thinking that I'll just like make, I don't know, a game object registry where I can just attach a mono behavior to a class and it will like automatically make itself available to the game logic. But the only problem, like that, I was trying to think, what are any advantages to this system? And I guess the only advantage that I could think of is that I could set this data before the text field, the Unity text field, is actually created. But I think a better way to do that is just to have an event that would call when the UI is loaded, so then I could just set the default values. So yeah, in other words, I'm gonna pretty much just get rid of a lot of the work that we did yesterday, or not, I guess Monday. But that's all right. Let's see. So I guess I'll just call this. I mean, I could call it like UI object registry, but really it's just going to store a game object. So it could just be a game object registry. And we can use it for things besides interface. Even though probably would be a better idea not to, because I don't know, I might what am I trying to say? You might want to have a more specialized solution for that. Okay, so this will just be well, I guess it'll just have, I'm trying to think. I guess that we will need to have one more class. So this would be an entry, and it'll have the string tag. I guess I should make this public. And then the game object, which is the Unity game object that we want the logic to be able to get a handle on. I can type it. Okay, and then I'll just create a constructor. Oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to create a new list. And I think I can go ahead and just add some of the helper classes that are helper objects that I already have in here. Except this find or create won't make any sense because if the entry is not in here yet, then we have to wait until it's actually created by the Unity object. But I guess this find would be fine. Well, I guess the Unity objects themselves would want the find or create, but I don't think that's actually useful because we're just going to have one mono behavior that would do that. So entries. Okay, and we can just return the game object. We don't have to return the entry. Okay, and then I can't have the mono behavior in here because the mono behavior has to match the file name. Let's call it game object hook, I guess. Okay, and then a mono behavior is a class that's set up to attach to a Unity object. Spelled the English way. So on start, we would want to get a reference to the game object registry. Which I can do like this, game link. We'll just get it out of the game context, and since I'm doing this, I'll need to make sure that the game object registry is in the top, or the game's top context. Which is not really that big of a deal, because that's probably how I'd want it to work anyway. Okay, so we do that. Oh, and then again, I think I'll just use strings to identify. Oops, what am I doing? Realize field. To identify these game objects, even though I'd rather use an enumeration type thing, but if I want this to be able to use this same object from multiple scenes, it's gonna get a little, I guess, crowded if I just use the same game or enumeration for the entire game. So, so it's fine. String will be will work. So. Okay, I guess we'll just assume, well no, we should make sure that there's not already a registry with our tag. And registry entries, if e tag equals our tag, then I'll need to throw an error, but I won't actually throw an error, I'll just do a Unity. Oh, I don't need to get the namespace like that. So log or debug log error duplicate game object registry tag. And I should probably also make sure that these are uppercase. That way I don't have to worry about typos in that respect. Okay, so if we get past that, then we'll just add our entry in here. Okay, and okay, so I want to do, yeah, it's not override, it's just on destroy. If I can type it. Okay. And this is called whenever an object is destroyed, or basically it's unloaded. So when this happens, we would want to just remove our entry from the registry. So if registry entries I tag, then we'll, I guess we could also check to make sure the game object equals our game object, but oh, I don't know if this really matters, but why not? Oh, this might not be safe to do during on destroy. I'm not sure. So let's just stick with the tag, because the game object might actually be null by this point. I'm not sure how Unity does this. So we'll remove at I and then break. Okay, so that will remove us from the registry. Okay, so now what I do, let's go back to the username. Okay. Okay, so I had this text field state. Let's go ahead and mark this as all of these as obsolete. And this is another weird thing, because I was basically just funneling a Unity event into my own event, which I guess was fine, but I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know, event spaghetti. Oops, I don't need to have obsolete there. We'll come back and destroy these files later. Okay, so now I'll get a hook to the game object registry. Okay, and one thing I should do, or one thing I want to do is we won't set this here in the constructor. I'm going to wait until an on interface initialized event. Yeah, I guess that's fine. The only problem I can think of is that if I just add it on this tickables, then we might have to wait a frame before we set the initial values, which could cause some weird stuff or some visual glitches. But yeah, because it would like, the game would kind of like flicker, or the interface would flicker. But I think in the final game it won't matter because we're going to have a transition. Right now we just flat switch to another screen, so it's not going to look polished anyway. And I guess if it really is a problem later, then I can have a different system. I guess I could see if it's even needed, because like, what is... Yeah, I wonder if Unity loads a scene up right when you call this the load scene. Probably, I would guess that the start method would not be called. So if I did the game object registry on awake, I think that would mess up some of the other loading. But how do I want to... Let's see. I'm just gonna comment out most of this class for now. won't actually do anything, but I want to check the order of operations. Gotta wait for it to compile before I can do anything. Okay, so let's change. Yeah, we'll get rid of this text field listener and put on a game object hook. Okay, so I'll just call this username field. And let's put a debug log here. So this is the hook. Hook has run. And so the lobby controller, this is like when I call the scene manager. So I want to see if that hook has run, will run it, or will debug, or the log will appear between. So calling load scene and scene called. I kind of doubt it. But I guess if I did, could just, like I said, I could register it on awake because then it probably would be called immediately. Let's just test that. Okay, let's call this hook start. And yeah, to further complicate things, I could either run the game from this screen, or I could run it from another scene that loads into here. Oh, that's another problem. If I'm already in the scene, the setup lobby controller shouldn't load it again. So let's see. F scene manager. Let's just use this namespace. Let's see. I want to see the currently loaded scene. Get active scene. Yeah, that's what I want. So name is set up lobby. Oh, I guess I should check if it does not equal. Because if it does not equal, then we want to load this. Okay, let's just test what happens here, and I'll watch the debug log. Okay. Oh, well, that's just saying that the game object registry wasn't set up yet. Okay, but hook awake ran first before the lobby setup. Oh, so we got a null reference. Oh, right, because it couldn't find the object in the context. So what I should do, I guess let's just add it. I don't need those. I guess now that I have this music notification in chat, I don't know if I need to take up space on my overlay with it. Yeah, I just found out about this morning when I tried to start up the stream, so I haven't had much time to think about it yet. Oh, text field listener. Oh, I already added text field listeners to everything. Okay, that was a little premature. Okay, and do I have enabler listener? Yes, let's take that away. Okay, so at least now there's no errors. So I think I'll load into the title screen and we'll see the order of these messages when I go that way. Okay, so let's see. Calling load scene called. Okay, and then set up lobby and then hook awake. So the lobby is not ready when hook awake is called. How do I want to do that? I don't. So I could just have it wait until the next frame to update, but maybe that's okay. Let's look. So if I just username manager, let's just add a tick. And then I'll just see when this runs. Because I guess if it runs before the awake, then that wouldn't solve the issue either. Or really we want it to, if it runs after start, then it might be okay, but. Yeah, that's gonna. Okay, so yeah, it runs before awake and start, so that's not gonna help either. So really what I need is should I do about this? It'd be almost better if we waited for the controller to do anything until after the Unity scene has fully loaded. So yeah, I think that'd be the easiest thing to do instead of. Well, okay, actually, probably. So what I really want to do is like have a list of these username managers that want to have a callback when the UI is loaded. But I'm just trying to figure out how I would know when the UI is loaded. Let's see, there is one other thing. Scene manager on. Oh yeah, there's a scene loaded event. On scene load event. I guess we could see when that is called. So what's wrong with this? Oh, it has arguments, so I don't really care. Okay, so calling load scene called. Then the constructor runs. Okay, then there's an update, then hook you awake, and then on scene load. So the scene load is even called before the hooks start. Well, I guess that makes sense. Although it's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, because this awake is called when an object is created. Start is called before the object has its first update. But you normally... Okay, so the reason that I don't want this game object hook to call the game link on awake is because how do I explain it? Because the game might not have been created yet. Because then it would try to load into unknown and then it would get an error if this game link loader does not call it first. I guess the... Okay, let's see. Let's go back into the title screen. Oh, we're there already. And I guess I'll move this to awake. Okay, let's not do it that way. And I'll put this just on some random object. This will be a good... Actually, this is a good idea to test when this object, or when the on destroy is called. Because we want to make sure that works as well. Okay, so... Hook, destroy, and I guess we'll put the tag. Okay, so I think, well, we might get lucky and have the game link loader run first, but I don't want to rely on that. So what I'm going to do is, I usually don't use this too much, but the script execution order for Unity. And here you can, oh, this is going to be, I don't want to look through there. But here you can set certain classes to run before other ones. I hope that the onAwake respects this. I know that start and update do. Okay, game link loader, and of course the window disappeared. So I want all scripts not in the custom order are executed at the default time. I know, but I want to add it. Why is it not letting me? The mono behavior, isn't it? Maybe because it doesn't have an update, it won't let me add it? This... Oh, it does have an update. Okay. But I know start also works, so am I just gonna have to have a dummy update? Oh, it is right there. I guess I just didn't see it. Okay. The game link loader runs first. Was it there already? I don't know. I just didn't notice it. And I guess we can be explicit and put the hook right there. So the game link loader would run first, and then the hook, and then the default. Let's see. Oh yeah, gotta apply that. I guess I'll just watch the order here. Okay, got a null reference. Game link cannot load game in unknown. Okay, so the hook awake did run first. Oh, and that's because it loads this on the start. So let's do this. Oh, thanks for the follow, Student Unity. Appreciate it. Okay, so the hook awake test and the start test, and there's no errors this time. So thankfully awake does respect the execution order. Now if I create a game, let's actually look and see at the execution order for this. Okay, so it calls load scene called, created true, then it does a tick, and then it destroys the old scene, and then it's going to call awake, and then the load event, and then it calls start, and then the second tick from our game object, or for the game logic. Okay, so I think I can make this work. What I want to do, and basically, well, okay, let's not try and get fancy here. Or do I want to? I don't know. So, I guess the phase controller could just have... Well, the thing is that not all phases are going to load a scene. Okay, yeah, so let's not, and we can just bring this... or see how I want to do it later. Basically, I'm going to want an interface here. Well, I guess this interface can at least be in the UI helpers. So, UI setup. And we don't have to put public in interfaces, I always forget that. So we'll just have a UI setup function. Or I guess let's do that to make it more like a verb. Need that stuff. Private list, UI setup. Okay, and so anything that would have this, I'll just need to add to this list. Does that work? Not convert. Okay, so it returns a void. That's kind of silly. Oh yeah, I need to do this other part. Yeah, so it should just return the type that it creates. I don't know. I guess I just didn't think about that. Or I haven't had a need for it yet. It'll return this and we'll add it, but then of course username manager does not implement that object or that interface. Oh, that's capitaled. Oh, and that's also the wrong namespace, so I should go fix that before I mess anything else up. Okay, and then it just wants this, and so here we know that the UI has been loaded, so we can set initial states, and also it runs before the first update, so we can also make sure that these values will be initialized to something we actually want, so we won't have any flickering. Okay, so... Alright. So, ideally I could have this UI setup object be generic. Like, maybe I want to have another phase controller that has this UI thing. Because I know at least the lobby is going to have a pretty much the same architecture as this, and the title screen too, but I don't really want to worry about that until I have something final, so we'll do that towards the end. Okay, so I guess... Okay, let's move this... It doesn't actually matter the order here. And also, what is this type? It's Unity Action. Because I want to be able to I want to be able to... Oh, I did this backwards. To unsubscribe once I don't need this anymore. Oh. I don't really want to say using... Okay, I'll just write it all out. And this is scene, load, callback. Okay, so basically if the scene is different than the one we want, then we would want to register for this. Scene load callback equals on load scene. I guess I'll just create this function. And then we'd load the scene, and I guess we don't need that anymore. But if the scene is already loaded, then I could just call UI setup objects. Let's actually have a function for this. Call UI setup. Okay, so I guess listener in UI setup objects. So just call do UI setup. I guess we could clear this now, but it doesn't really make any difference. Okay, so here we know, well, I guess we should make sure that the scene is, oh. Oh yeah, I did this backwards. Yeah, I don't want to return the callback, I want this to be the callback. I don't think this mode matters for me, but I should check, I guess, to make sure that the scene is the one we actually want. So name is set up lobby. Then we do scene manager. Oops. Loaded minus equals scene load callback. Then I should set this to null. And actually I should make this a separate function because we want to call it on dispose. So I guess unregister scene load callback. Alright, so override dispose. If scene load callback does not equal null, then we'll want to unregister it. This is just if we have a weird order of operations. We don't want to leave this callback hanging if we don't actually need it. So we'll do that, and then we'll also call the UI setup. Alright. Yeah, so this is definitely complicated enough to use another class. I don't really want to have to duplicate this code. But yeah, I'll worry about that later. So the username manager, now I can... Okay, so I'll need to store the... Oh, I don't really need to store the registry. Oh yeah, I do actually, because we won't have the text field until the UI setup. So it's not called, I keep calling it a text field, but it's actually called an input field. So field equals UI registry, find username field, and oh yeah, so it's a game object, so we gotta get the component of the input field. And now I can basically just set these objects myself. So field.interactable is false. Field password. Oh, actually, we gotta make sure. Yeah, because this phase change might have already been called. We don't know exactly when the UI. Because I think one tick goes by before the UI is set up. So what I should do. This isn't a big deal, really. So it's only interactable if we're in the input phase. With accept password mode, its input type equals standard. It should be shown automatically. Field. The only other thing we have to do is set the text and the validator. Oh yeah, which is commented out right now, so I can uncomment all this, I think. We don't need this update. Okay, so this refresh command's not needed anymore. On phase change, what I would do is just set, I guess, if field does not equal null, then we'll set interactable. Okay, this is the validation thing. Okay, so this is a callback for value change. So I guess now I would just register a unity callback. So value. Okay, let's deprecate it. So I want to use this one. Add listener. Okay. And instead of taking an event, we just take a string. And we can still use this event to hook into the rest of the game logic. And this event is called when the game system's username has changed and we want to update the password text. So yeah, if field does not equal null and field text does not, oh, it doesn't even matter anymore, does it? So yeah, if field is null, then we'll just set the text and we don't have to do that anymore. I guess we should only throw this event if field, oh well, it's obviously not going to be null because it would have had to not be null to for this event to be called, but field if the text is different than what's given to us here, then we want to throw this event. Okay, so I can get rid of all of that. And that is obsolete. Okay, these are fine. Okay, so I think everything should be working now. Let me... I guess let's just play and see. I'll leave these hook start debugs in there for now, but we'll want to definitely remove them later because they're going to spam the debug log, which is already chronically spammed, but it'll be useful. Okay, so we already got a null reference. Oh, I probably forgot to create the list of UI setup objects. I always forget to do that. Okay, so no errors this time. Title phase, event queued, book destroyed text, and awaken start. Okay, so no errors so far. I guess we should have had like a default username. That might have been useful. Let's see. Okay, so the validation is set because it won't let me go more than 16 characters. So I'm going to try and type a semicolon, which should be disabled, which it is. But I can do dots and underscores and alphanumeric characters. Okay, so it did set up the validation. I'm not seeing any events for the value change though, which is a little strange. Because I did add this listener right here. If the text is not equal text, then it should queue this event. Let's just make sure that this is actually called. Okay, yeah, so UI setup is right there. Okay, it is getting the text, but it's not firing an event. Why? Oh, okay, I did the wrong thing because it's okay. This is silly. I'm checking the actual text field's text to see if it's different than what it just told me its text is. So I actually need to do. I need to see if the system username is different than what's in the text. So it's input state dot username does not equal text. Okay, so now it's firing the events, the username input change. I don't think anything responds to this yet, though. Yeah, because I just wanted to do the UI stuff. Hi, Aaron Simpson. How are you doing today? Thanks for stopping by. Alright, so I'll get rid of some of that. Okay, so I think I updated this, and although, yeah, there is a bit more pain with like the loading order, I think in the long run it'll be better because I'll have direct control over the Unity objects, and I won't have to have all those interfaces, which this text field listener and enabler listener just aren't that useful. I think I'll just delete them. Got everything out of it. You're just doing some project while you watch some devs? Yeah, I like to do that too. What are you working on right now? Okay, so I guess now I can do some more UI controllers, or maybe it's time to add in a little support. Well, okay, let's see. I'm just going to add a little hacky thing here. I would like the username to be initialized so that I can see if it's set immediately here. So I'm just going to set the username here, which I shouldn't do, but just for testing it will be fine. Okay, and test does show up. So it did set that. I should have watched closely to see if there was a flicker or anything. And what I mean by flicker is if we could see one frame where there's no text there and then it just appears. Nope, I think it's there right away. Okay, good, that's what I wanted. So even without a transition, you don't have to worry about flickering. First project you're doing, working on world design. Oh, that's cool. 3D voxel RPG that has look 16-bit SNES game but in full 3D. Yeah, I love voxel style. I've never really messed with it that much, but I don't know, it's always been something I've wanted to try. Alright, so let's see. I guess let's go ahead and do these. I think I will do all these classes that control the UI elements first, and that way when I have the game logic done, I can just hook into these different events as needed. Yeah, so that should be a good way to do it. Well, it doesn't really matter. Either way, you could start bottom up or top down. But I guess since I already have the interface and I'm kind of experimenting with it right now, we'll go top down. So let's back to setup lobby. Took you 4 years to learn to do pixel art and then make them into 3D blocks. These are the make world map layout. Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I would consider myself okay with pixel art. But yeah, I'm sure voxel is just another thing entirely. That sounds fun though, actually. Yeah, another I love drawing maps too. I haven't really got to do much in this project, but well, eventually it is my plan once I create the modding framework to go back and add my own story mode, so I guess I'll get to then. But anyway, so this host address, it is only visible when we're in, what's the word? Join a lobby phase. Otherwise, it'll just automatically use our address. So I need to have some way to turn this on and off. We can do automatically. Just turn it on and off right there. So I'll just add an object hook. Got fix if you want to see. Oh yeah, sure, go ahead. I'll take a look at them. Your links might not show in chat for everybody, but I should be able to see them. So if it says they were removed, don't worry. Okay, so let's see. I guess address. Okay, let's do address enter. This will be address enter, and the other one will be address display, and then this will be parent. So something I want to hook into this and be able to turn it on and off. So this text, it doesn't matter. It will always stay the same, but I want to hook into the input field again. So address, enter. Field. And then I guess we'll need to get the button so that I can listen for presses. Then address, display. Oh, yeah, enter. Okay, and button. So that should be fine. Okay, I got your link. Oh yeah, those look pretty good. Yeah, if you don't mind to show it on stream, yeah, I won't mind to show them off. I like your little characters, especially. Yes, let's see. Okay, so I think that's all I'll need. I think I'll just have one object that will handle all three of those things. You don't mind? Okay. But yeah, this is pretty cool. It has its own style, I think. Yeah, I like this little, I guess it's a dwarf. That's my favorite one. Oh, statues, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, I see you're using pixel art as a reference. That's probably a good idea. Got a lot of detail into these shelves. And the trees are good too. It's cool. So let's see. I guess I'll call this, address enter manager. And this will be a flow logic container, which again just lets us hook into the event system, and then it will also do an IUI setup callback. First, I'm going to need to generate. I won't want to do that yet, actually. So let's see. I'll need the input state, and I guess the flow state, and the game object registry. Okay, that should be private too, actually. I don't know why I wrote public there. Let's generate the constructor for that. You got 3 times the workload and haven't even learned coding yet. Yeah, I know. Being an indie developer, you gotta wear a lot of hats. But yeah, in terms of learning coding, I don't know how much I'd actually be able to help. But if you have any specific questions, you can feel free to throw them my way. Okay, so that's fine. What events will I need? I guess I'll need to listen to the phase change event. Phase change event, because yeah, once we enter, I'll only want the button and the text field to be interactable during the input phase. What else? So I guess we'll want another input like this for the address. And the button, like the game code doesn't even need to know about that button, I don't think. So yeah, I'm not even gonna have an event for that. But we'll want to listen for the address change event, because that would be, or the value change, because that will be when the system changes the address. So let's generate a method. Hey, Offie Gamer. Glad you could stop by. And I'm doing pretty good. Getting a lot done, I think. I'm pretty happy with how the progress I'm making on the interface. But how about you? How are you doing? Alright, let's see. Okay, so now I think I've got the framework set up here, so I want to have the input field. Need to remember it's called an input field. Oh yeah, I just saw that my webcam has gotten pretty dark. That's something I forgot to check out this weekend, but that's alright. And then I guess, oh yeah, I will need the button because I'll need to be able to set it as enable and disabled. Okay, so field is game object registry. Find, okay, so address, enter, field, and then the button. I know I'm gonna have typos here. I just feel it. Oh, I also need to get the component if I can find the period key. And get component, input field. Yes, progress definitely good. Okay, so first of all, let's set some values here. I guess interactable is if the flow state is in input mode. Oh, not the mode. Phase. Oh, that is one other thing I need actually. Okay, should, yeah, so if we're not in the join phase or join mode, then I don't really even need to do anything. Game object. Oops, that's not what I want. Let's call it the UI parent, but not to be confused with this object's parent. But okay, so I really could just say that this class, like right here, if the flow state is not in the join mode, return. Which maybe I will do that. But it's still gonna call do UI setup. I don't know. Let's not be that. Try to be that smart. Okay, that's all I need to do there. What would you say is the best language to start learning? Probably I learned with Java. But Java, well, it's very strict, so you would learn how to do programming pretty quick, but I don't really know how much it's used anymore. I don't use it that often. I mean, C# is pretty good. It's relatively simple. That's what I'm programming in right now, and it's used a lot. So I guess, yeah, so I'd recommend one of those two, I guess. Something simpler, like maybe Lua, but I guess it's hard to find something that uses Lua. What am I trying to do here? Oh yeah, set active. I guess I don't have much experience in JavaScript, but if you did want to learn that, you could just use your internet browser to play around with because it has a built-in JavaScript compiler. That might be another good option. Okay, so what I want to do here is this is only active if we're in the join mode. So I guess I could also set this interactable also if we're in join mode. I don't really think it's needed, but interactable. I can copy this actually. Oh, also I need to change the text of the button so that when we press it, it changes from show to hide. It's just a little thing, but let's see. Private. Is it just text? I think so. The button text. And I don't really need to have another registry for this, so button text equals button get component and children. That should be fine. That should give you some things to start with. Okay, so I guess really I can just have a Boolean here. It feels kind of bad to have like actual logic data in this class. But I don't think anything else is going to have to get a reference to it, so I think it will be okay. And I guess this is just the interface, so let me see. Text. Okay, so in password mode. Okay, so field dot password our input mode. No input type. Okay, so for in password mode, then it's password, otherwise standard. Okay, and well, actually, there's gonna be a few things, so. And actually, this should be just in another function because whenever we change password mode, we'll want to refresh this. Password and button text is show. Also, I just realized I should probably do the localization system before I go too much farther with the interface. Although I guess this is just basically a test interface, so maybe it's not worth it at this point. Do I release my games? Yeah, I do. I think I have a link on my channel. Whatever game I've made, you can find at timnetatten.itch.io, which I guess I can just put in chat. But obviously I'm working to release this game I'm working on right now. I already have a roadmap to what I'm calling Beta 1, but it'll probably still be a little while. I've got to finish up this interface stuff, and then there's still some more polish to do. But yeah, I actually should write a note about the localization. Although, okay, I do have localization support actually. I'll need to think about if I want to do that for this interface or just wait until I do the final interface. Because this one, yeah, obviously we're not going to use it completely. So anyway, input type, this would be standard. Hide. How do I create those cool notes? Oh, this is called OneNote. It's but make sure if you download it that you want to get the 2016 version because the new version doesn't have as much functionality. It's actually from Microsoft. Yeah, and I have lots of games. For about just over 2 years, I tried to make a game every month just to kind of practice. I guess not try, I did make a game every month for just about 2 years. Most of them are pretty small, but okay, so what else do I have to do? I need to set the text for the input field. So field.text is input state.address. Oh, and I need to set the validation. See here. And field. Ooh, that's not how you spell that. Field dot on validate input equals validate. That's my actual job. My actual job is right now actually, well, sort of making games. I am working on a project that I plan to sell, but I also do software contracting to actually pay the bills. One of my games I'm working on is actually almost done. And for a while I've wanted to do testing on stream, but it just hasn't worked out yet. So hopefully soon. So I have this address max length. I don't know. Well, I guess we will have a max length, but I don't know. Yeah, I need to actually look more into the format of these addresses because I don't know off the top of my head. And also, I think you can only have... Well, no, because you can use localhost. Okay, so I'm not going to validate any of this yet because I need to actually look into the address. Okay, let's just delete this. Well, I do want to load the username from a file, I guess. Okay, server address. Look up. What am I trying to look up? Format for validation. I guess just have the UI, which I did complete for this. Okay, so entry UI and then display UI. We've got server port, which we'll just deal with that later. Oops. Okay, must be recompiling. So I'll just get rid of that for now. Okay, so on phase change, I guess I just, yeah, I can pull this out into another function, which will just be refresh interactable. The mode I don't think will ever change, so I don't really need to do that, but well, I don't know, just in case. And then field dot text equals state address. So really I could have another function to refresh text. Why not? I guess, yeah, that's probably a good idea in case I ever need to change the way that this address is shown in the text. Okay, so the only other thing I need to do here is register for the button click and then the field value change. So on value changed. Is this the good one or is it the deprecated one? Yeah, so that's the one they want you to use. We'll have that and then button on click. Oh, I just thought of something I might need to do. Like, I don't ever unregister these listeners, but I wonder if there'd ever be a chance where these these buttons would stay loaded when this class is unloaded. Let's rename this to on button click actually. Okay, so this set in password mode equals not in password mode. So we basically just flip it and then refresh password mode. And then here, if the text does not equal what's in the input state, then we'd want to throw or queue a new event. So events queue new address input change. Okay, and so then the game system could look into this. There's probably going to be some circular stuff now I think about it, because when I set this input change, it's going to call the address change, or it's going to queue an address change, which would cause this field text to change, which might... well, I guess it would stop here, so there'd still be a bit of a circle, but not too bad. I'm trying to think if there's a way I can fix that. I guess I could just say we don't set this text if it's the same, but that doesn't really make any difference. Yeah, so that should be fine. But yeah, in the future I'll have to make sure that I don't get into an infinite loop there. Okay, but anyway, so back. Should I unsubscribe from these? Does this return anything? No, so I would just call remove listener. I guess I can do that. So if field does not equal null. I wonder if there's a better way. So let's see. This takes a Unity event string and just a Unity event. I take Unity actions with the same values. I don't know. I think I was gonna try to maybe make some automatic class that would unregister when I just called dispose on it, but it's gonna be a bit of a pain because of the way these generics are set up. I'd have to have a different version of it for every different number of arguments, which I've done before, and it just ends up being a big pain. So I think I'll just take the slight tediousness of having to call remove listener myself. There is remove all listeners, but that's probably not a good idea either. And I also have to check that the field is not null because it could have been destroyed at this point. Button on click. And I also don't know if this will actually work, because like I don't know if this will be the same object. I think I might test that. I'm gonna add it and then remove it right away, and then I'll click on it and see if we get a button press. Debug, log, button click. Alright, so I guess let's try it and see what happens. Oh, actually I don't even instantiate this class yet, so it's not going to do anything. Okay, Alright, so when I press play now, I think this is going to hide because it's going to say that it's inside or in the create mode. So I'm going to need to go from the title screen. Oh, except I got a no reference error. Okay, so either UI parent is null. So does find just return null if it doesn't find anything, or does it throw an error? Okay, it just returns null. I think I'd rather it return, I don't know. I probably spelled something wrong. Oh, it's address enter, not entry. Okay, let's try that again. Still got a null reference? Spelling it wrong. It's right here. Address, enter parent. I see, this is why I don't like to use strings. But it's just the best option. Do UI setup. Oh, you know what? It's because refresh interactable is being called before the UI setup. So if UI parent does not equal null. And I'm just going to assume that if it's not null, then they're all not null. And probably this could be called. So if field does not equal null. If field does not equal null. I guess it's important to do these. Okay, and these I don't have to worry about because they're actually called from Unity, so. Okay, so no errors. Oh, wait, there was one. Why does it say this is null now? Because it was working before. Why is this UI setup being called before the awake? I thought that we tested that that's not how it worked. Oh, okay. I think it's because I'm playing it from this scene. So obviously, let me see. Can't call setup right now. I have to wait one frame. Do I even want to support that? I wonder if scene loaded would still fire. Let's see. Oh, why did it? Oh, it loaded it over again. That's kind of weird, but yeah, and everything's not hooked up. Okay, so that's strange. So if I like call load scene on setup lobby when it already exists, it doesn't call the scene loaded again, even though it does load the scene again, I think. I guess I should have seen what. This is why I don't like I try to avoid working with Unity's load order as much as possible because it's kind of confusing. You don't have much control over it. Okay, so scene load was called. And then it destroys them and creates them. And scene load is not called again. Okay, well, it might just be because this is a kind of strange order. So let's, okay, do this. So if it does not equal, we'll load. Otherwise, we'll just wait for the callback. So hopefully the callback will still come, but it won't actually load the scene again. Okay, so the scene load callback was still fired. Did it? Oh, and it did hide the other thing, so that's good. Yeah. Okay, so everything works. Okay, I just need to remember that little strangeness. Okay, so what's next? Oh right, I wanted to actually test how the listeners worked. So I'll need to load into the title scene and try to join a game. Okay, so one, I must not set the flow mode, which is kind of weird. Okay, so it's not, I do save it. Okay, so do this, mode equals, otherwise join. That should be fine. Okay, so now, oh, now it has, oh, it's both visible because I haven't set up this one yet, but let's just enter in some numbers. Okay, when I press hide, nothing happens. That's because it unregistered the button click. Okay, that's good to know. So I don't need to try to, I was afraid I'd have to cache these callbacks, which would be even more annoying, but thankfully I don't have to. Probably when I load in, I should start with in password mode to true. Or start with this as true, I should say. And all that does is just make the text be asterisk, so you can't actually see what you're typing. That's just for people, streamers like me, that we don't want to put our whole IP address for everybody to see. But of course, this is just gibberish. So a real address would be something like 1.1, whatever. I'll just need to look up that format later. We might not even do any validation because it is a little confusing because you can have like a local host and things like that. Anyway, I think we're done with this. Yeah, so address input change event was called. I guess I can get rid of this button click log. Okay, so the next thing is the show address, and it's going to be kind of similar. We'll just have a button that will just show this text. What I could do, and maybe this is better, instead of having a separate little line here, we could just have the same thing, but then just make this text always uninteractable, and then this show button would still work. Maybe I'll do that, because that way we won't have to have a different display. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it still is fine. I guess, yeah, now we can get rid of this address enter. Okay, yeah, that makes this a little easier to read. Okay, so what I want to do, well, this already works, except the button should be interactable in both modes, but the field is only interactable in join mode. And I guess I don't need the UI parent at all anymore, now that I think about it. Let's get rid of that, and I guess I'll get rid of this hook. Do I? I don't think I have to change anything else to make this work in create mode. Let's just set the input state address to something. I'll just put localhost. Oops, well that worked out. Okay. I guess let's just start it from here so I don't have to load back in if something is broken. Okay, yeah, so now I'm obviously in create mode, just localhost. That's not what I want to do. Let's do title. Yeah, so I can't type in it, but it still obviously has the text. Otherwise I would have had to create my own little asterisk masker, which is not really that difficult, but I mean, why do it if I don't need to? You can see when I click the button, everything resizes automatically, which is nice to see. Okay. So I'll just get rid of that. So now the port is going to be basically the same as the username. I wonder, like, I don't hide the port. I wonder if that would be something that we'd want to do. I mean, I don't really think so. Could also just put the port at the end of the address entry instead of having them be separate. And that might be something we'll do in the final game, but the game logic actually needs them separate. So for now, we might as well just enter them separately. So port manager. So it'll be just like the username, pretty much. Although I think I'll use the address manager because it's kind of cleaner. I copied the username even though I said I wanted to do the address. Okay, that's funny. I must have misclicked. Okay, so yeah, we'll have a max length for this as well. We'll want that, and here I'll just want the input field. Yeah, it's simpler. Okay, so port field refresh. What does have? Yeah, there's no password mode, so on value change and no button. Oh, I need to add this to the username too. There we go. Took care of that. Okay, so this would be port, and here the port is an integer, so I need to convert it to a string, and I'm just gonna call toString on it. Fresh interactable. This is interactable always. Password doesn't exist. And we'll want to validate this so that it only accepts numbers. So if added, or I guess character is number. Okay, we'll have to see if this, it shouldn't accept like negatives or periods. We'll have to see if it actually does. I guess this should be, if this is false, then we just set the added character to the null character, which just tells it to not add anything. Okay, on phase change, that's fine. Oh yeah, there's no button anymore. Okay, so we have to do something a little different here because obviously the text is a string, but the port is a number, so we just need to parse it. So int port. And then if int try parse. Okay, so if this succeeds, then we can do this. If it ever doesn't succeed, then we just won't even consider firing this event. Okay, also I need to create the new event for this. So the music server down or something? Oh yeah, it seems like my music player has crashed. Okay, let me restart that real quick. I've never had this happen, but they just did a big update that's making me do things like having the chat bot. Okay, so I had to force close it. Also, my face has gotten really dark again. There we go. Okay, so we'll just have two things here on the port value change, which is when the port changes due to something in the system, and then the port input change, which is the opposite when the port changes because of the interface. So this will be port input change. Oh, also, this should change to an integer. And here, I need to change this event. Okay. So I really just need to get a hook to the port field. I might as well just set up all the hooks I need now because I pretty much know how it's going to work. Okay, there we go. I guess it wasn't really done compiling yet. So this is the port field. And for password, I'm going to need the field and the button. Password field. And password button. And then for these buttons, I'll just need a hook on the actual button. So guess connect button and cancel button. Also, we might need to get the connect this text here because it's either going to be join game or create game. But do that, and then I want to get this text because we're going to animate it slightly. So this will be connecting text. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, also this title text. Why is this turned off? Oh, I guess we'll just remove it. And I guess this will just be title text. It's fine. Yeah, because we'll want to change this to either create or join a game depending on what we're doing. So port, I did both of that. Password, connect button, exit button, title text. Okay, and then of course we'll want to do all the game logic classes for this, but I think it's all going to be pretty simple. They'll basically just listen for these events, set the data, and then whenever this button is pressed, check to see if the data is good, and then try to connect. I should actually change this to, status. I already thought of that here because it will also print if there's an error. Okay, so I've gone a little over, but since I started late, I think I'll continue streaming for about 10 more minutes just to have a nice 2-hour stream. So let's see. I guess let's go ahead and test support real quick. Oops, I meant to load into the title. Okay, so we print numbers, but it's not firing the event. That's kind of strange. And I can't print a letter. Let's see, it doesn't let me do underscores. Well, let me do... Okay, no periods and no minus signs, so that's good to see. But everything else is just not firing the event. Oh. Did I? Okay, so it's already doing the validation. Oh, I know why. Because I set the text field to have automatic number only, but in the setup lobby controller, I didn't even initialize the port manager, which is kind of important. Alright, so let's try that again. Okay, yeah, so now it's set to 0 by default, which makes sense. Okay, and okay, it does limit me to 16 characters, which is more than you'd ever need for the port. Okay, and again, does it do... Okay, no minus signs or periods, and no letters. Okay, so I think we're done there. And it does... Oh yeah, it does update the event now, so... Okay, so let's see if I can squeeze in the password manager before I sign off for today. And the password manager is almost exactly the same as the address manager. Let's grab all this. Oh, how did it know about that already? Interesting. Oh, because I put it in UI helpers. This is the wrong namespace. Needs to go up here. So game logic setup lobby.ux. And it's really going to be almost the same, except I need to have some different events. And this password is pretty much just what it seems like. The host can set a password, and then only people that know it can connect to the game. Okay, so this should be password field and password button. I think I can pretty much leave all this the same. Oh, except I should change this event. Okay, and we'll set that to the password. Okay, so this is always interactable if we're in the input phase. Fine. I guess I should just change this name. I'll just leave it at 16, although we'll probably want to allow longer ones. That's okay, and then password input change. So yeah, that was simple. Okay, class structure must have a return type. Oh. Oh, it's duplicated it. This sometimes happens. I've noticed with Unity, if you accidentally, or if you create a class and then move it without loading into Unity first, it will duplicate it. So I'm just going to delete the old one, or the extra one. Now everything's fine, but I still need to create or initialize this new class here. So I didn't forget this time. Forgot this. Oh yes, these things aren't ever assigned to. That's because it's got to be assigned in the game logic, which I'm not working on right this second. Let's go in create mode. I type, okay, so it's saying password input change. If I show it, everything's fine there. Okay, so that was pretty simple. Let's see. Well, it's actually been almost exactly 2 hours, so I guess we'll call it here. Really, we've just got to do those buttons and then the helping text, so we're almost done, I think, with the input controllers, and so then we'll go back to the game logic, which will be pretty simple here. All it's really just going to collect data and then try to connect. So the create join button, I've just got to switch this text depending on what mode, and then it should be uninteractable until we've got some valid data in each of these fields. And the cancel button is even simpler. It's just always active, and then if I press it, we'll go back to the title screen. Well, the game logic will have a bit more to it, because if I press the cancel button while we're trying to join, then we'll have to close the server or whatever. That's not a huge deal though. So hopefully, yeah, I've been actually wanting to get to the lobby, which will be, like I said, where all the fun is, because we have to deal with loading the mods and presenting like a list of all kinds of mods, and then we have to show like every player slot and their username and some other things. I even want to like be able to transfer data about mods over the network, including maybe like a screenshot or something. And then you can say, okay, go download this mod if you want to play. But yeah, that should be... I'm looking forward to it. The lobby has been neglected for too long, so it'll make testing a lot easier to actually have it up and running. But I guess I better call it for today. Thanks everybody for coming by. I really appreciate it. We had quite a bit of viewers today, so that's always nice. And again, thanks everybody for chatting too. Offie Gamer and Aaron Simpson. Good luck on both of your projects. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel if you'd like to see how the game used to look or just catch up on anything you missed. And a Discord server where you can chat with me throughout the day. I'd love to have you there. Oh yeah, and also if you want to be notified when I go live, which should be around tomorrow at noon, feel free to follow me here on Twitch or on my Twitter. I always post there when I go live. But yeah, I'll put links in chat, or you can check out the video description if you're watching from YouTube. But besides that, I think that's it for me. So yeah, have a great day and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.